Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, October 5th, 2021. Exciting day in the markets. We are back with Reliq Health, RQHTF, over-the-counter RHT and the TSX venture with Dr. Lisa, the CEO. Dr. Lisa, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack.
So a lot of exciting things happening in the market. We're getting, we just had our ninth stock, super stock is almost a 10 bagger. So we've had already 8 stocks that have increased between 1,000%, 5,000% in the past year. And I'm very looking forward to having Reliq join this pantheon of super stocks. So we're going to see, I think that moment is going to start happening shortly. I know that a big milestone is coming up with December, which is $2 million a month revenue run rate, which should have a significant impact on the valuation because you're in the health tech space. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I think that one thing that we're going to have you do today is you're going to kind of share a demo, right, of the iUGO platform. You're going to show, what are you going to show? What's going to be the show and tell today?
Yeah, so this is we're giving you a sort of an abbreviated version of a demo that we usually share with clinicians. And because we sell to clinicians and not to patients, our demos are aimed at the client as opposed to, as you know, to their clients, the patients. The experience in the patient's home is very low tech. And that's really key to ensuring adherence with these patients since they are typically older and quite ill. And so what you're going to see is the patient portal first. And the patient portal is primarily used by informal caregivers for that patient. So typically our patients are not very tech savvy and not particularly interested in using any kind of mobile interface or desktop interface, but their family members may be. And so the patient portal gives the family members a chance to log on and they can review the patient's care plan. They can check out, you know, is the patient doing better since we bought them that exercise bike, or since, you know, I've been going over and taking grandma for walks 3 times a week. Has that impacted on her blood sugar?
But also the doctors see this. Everybody sees it. Basically, this is
the doctor will see it through their own clinician portal, but the patient portal will provide data that's really tailored to the patient and their family members.
So 2 people. So basically, 2 people have access: the family, or you know, whoever's involved, and the doctor.
Yeah, anyone the patient wants to have access can access the patient portal. So typically they would authorize one of their family members or more. The physician will see all of their data through the clinician portal, which will be much more detailed and much more complex, but more appropriate for a clinician to be reviewed.
Okay, so we're going to see, basically, you're going to do a video demo, which is what you give. This is the thing that you share with the families, the doctors, so people will see exactly what the screen looks like for the both, right? Family. Okay. So if you're so what I'm going to do is we're going to. How long? The video is a couple minutes, right? We're going to do
share. Not quite 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So we'll pop it up on the screen, and then we'll come back and we'll go into Q&A. We'll talk about some of the latest news, which is the more expansion in Texas, what's happening in the Texas market to drive adoption, what's really helping you get more sales there, and the other exciting things, milestones coming up. So let me get this on the screen. Let me just make sure we have this up here. And okay, and you can press play.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll just explain that iUGO Care is what the patient portal is called. So that's where we'll start here, is with iUGO Care.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
It's just going to play.
Roll tape.
1 second. It does not want to play. Okay, maybe I can't press it on your screen, but only on mine.
Okay, hang on. I think you have to do this. It's going? Okay. So I think you have to do it from the back in the screen.
Yeah, no, I did. I pressed play, which is why the pause is showing. I don't know why it's not playing. I'm just going to pause it and try again. You and I had this working perfectly fine in the studio a second ago.
3 minutes ago, it was you know, it's the Mercury retrograde. This is the old technology is not working. The last, you know, Facebook.
There, I think it's starting.
Okay.
Portal. MyUgo allows patients to interact with their health data, reviewing their readings and accessing their care plans. Patients are able to submit surveys, questionnaires, documents, and even self-submit wound care photos. For those patients on the go, MyUgo is also available for mobile devices, enabling patients to take part wherever they may be and ensuring there's no disruption to daily submissions. Here we can see a clinician being notified of a recent submission of a wound care photo. With the reference image included in the photo, the clinical user can now measure and document the wound progress. Oh look, an iUgo Home alert. Here we can see a patient wearing one of the iUgo Home monitoring watches or pendants has left their designated safe zone. You can see how iUgo Home guides the user through the correct steps and workflows to ensure the safety of the patient. Using the two-way communication feature of the watch, the user is able to contact the patient directly, ensuring their well-being and provide any assistance that may be necessary, all while documenting the interaction as it happens. iUgo Home's geofencing, fall detection, and SOS alerts can ensure that those patients that need a little extra care can receive it anytime and anywhere. I hope you've enjoyed this brief demonstration of the capabilities of iUgo Care, MyUgo, and iUgo Home. For more information, please visit iugohealth.com.
Okay, so that was
a demonstration of the iUgo Care remote.
Let me just
Okay.
stop. Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So quick demo. So what we saw was what the doctor sees, and also you can also family members can see, have access to this.
Yeah, that's a demo that we do for clinicians to give them a sense of what patients and their family members can see in terms of data for how the patient's doing on the system.
Okay, so there's a lot of different features for this remote patient monitoring. One of them was this the geofencing. I guess that's for people who may have Alzheimer's. So they might walk out of the house or whatever, and they could get lost. Basically, this is a serious issue.
Yes, for patients who are aging in place, who may not have other health issues, but who are at risk of falls or who may have memory issues. The iUgo Home platform is specifically designed to automatically detect falls and alert the clinicians or even the family. And the geofencing function, alerts probably the family first, but can also alert the clinical care team if a patient wanders. And we found that particular system is used not just by patients and families, but also by adult daycares and skilled nursing facilities to keep track of patients who are at risk of wandering.
Is that a different module? For example, is that something where somebody doesn't need to have blood pressure or whatever? They just need this kind of fall detection or whatever. Is that a module that is X amount of dollars per month?
Usually it's something that's deployed as part. Very rarely do these patients not have chronic diseases. Oh, okay. I should say that, but it is something that could be deployed through sort of a private pay situation where you had a family member who wanted to track those patients, their family members, in the absence of any other health conditions. But typically when we have a patient who's using iUgo Home for falls detection and geofencing, we also have that patient on medication reminders, and we're tracking medication adherence and compliance.
Okay.
And Jack has a little construction going on.
Yeah, a little construction. Yes, that's on my end. Yes.
Dogs, but
yes.
The hammering and the sawing and the drilling.
Yes.
So, yeah. So it's something that, ultimately I think will be a standalone consumer facing product, as well as being part of the overall iUgo Care platform. But at the moment, we primarily are still using that with patients who do also have chronic diseases. So it's part of, a larger kind of suite of billing codes that the clinician is accessing. But I do think down the road, the medication compliance, the geofencing, the falls detection is something that we'll be able to sell direct to consumer.
Okay, so that's interesting. So there's an upside for another revenue stream, but basically, so essentially, what you're doing is this $40? How much? It's $60 a month per patient now, right? For the whole turnkey package, everything.
Typically, our subscription fees are $40 to $100 per patient per month. It's generally $40 is kind of just for the software. And then depending on what kind of care management services that clinician might want, it gets up to $100. So a lot of the physicians are using the full premium $100 a month service because it allows them to onboard more patients and to onboard much more quickly.
Okay, so speaking of onboarding, last week, basically you've been, really, again, like I think in March, you really kind of hit that inflection point. More and more contracts are coming online. Last week, you announced a new contract. This is again in Texas, which is a massive market for you, and which is interesting because you're a Canadian company, but your business is all in the U.S. I mean, it's like it's all in the U.S. So tell us about the deal Texas and what's happening in Texas that is apparently there's some things happening with their Medicaid program, something that's driving adoption and more doctors to kind of, recommend bring on your service.
Yeah, first, a little bit of very brief background on Texas. So the reason that we started in Texas initially, that was really our first market for the company as a whole, is because the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, which is southern Texas near the Texas-Mexico border or encompassing the Texas-Mexico border, has the highest concentration of chronic disease patients of anywhere in the United States. So typically when we're talking to doctors in this area, their patients, at least 60 to 80% of them will have either high blood pressure or diabetes or both. So through a combination of factors, including socioeconomic status and genetics with the particular population there, and just a general kind of lifestyle in that area, they tend to have a very, very high rate of chronic disease. And as a result, that was a really attractive market for us when we were just getting started. And, we're an unproven technology and an unknown company because the unmet needs in that market were so significant. And it was such a common or universal need in that area. So Texas, is where we've been the longest. And so it's certainly where you're going to see a lot of traction from us going forward. But we definitely have expanded into other jurisdictions, and both across the states. We've talked about California and Maryland and Florida. And there's quite a few other states where we are quite active. And I think you'll hear more about those going forward. But Texas has certainly continued to be a great state for us because there is a large chronic disease population and we're quite well known there. So with these contracts, it's sort of our typical family practices who have large chronic disease patient populations are signing up for chronic care management, remote patient monitoring, behavioral health integration. But what's interesting in Texas is we've started to see a lot more contact from different types of clinicians and just generally from new practices as a result of Texas Medicaid's introduction of new billing codes that cover a broader patient base. So Texas Medicaid, so remember Medicare is the federal program, and Medicaid is a state administered, federally funded and state funded program. And so when we started in 2017, 2018, there were 20 states that had coverage for remote patient monitoring through Medicaid, but they tended to have very narrow definitions of, eligibility around patients. And Texas only covered patients with diabetes and hypertension. But effective September 1st of this year, they now cover congestive heart failure, which is one of the major chronic disease indications that leads to hospitalization. So it's a huge step forward in Texas that now home health agencies can bill for monitoring congestive heart failure patients. They're also going to cover solid organ disease. So that means basically any disease of the brain, the heart, the kidneys, the lungs, the pancreas, which includes diabetes. And they're also going to cover organ transplant. So when a patient has had an organ transplant, they can be monitored in the home using our system. And they're expanding, their expansion is very consistent with the trends that we see in Medicare and Medicaid broadly across the country, which is, expanding the conditions that are covered because Medicare and Medicaid have validated for themselves as insurers that the more care you can provide proactively, preventatively in the home, the fewer hospitalizations you get, and therefore the lower the health costs.
So basically, so Texas. So this new thing with the congestive heart, it's another coding thing which they will reimburse remote patient one.
Right.
That just came on just now, basically last month.
Yeah, exactly, a month ago.
So it's so there's some again. It's really interesting. Like what's happening is you're really part of this you're really part of this major kind of trend that's happening, which is which really kicked off probably 18 months ago, 2 years ago, the coding. You talked about this with the billing codes, which allows for reimbursement and all that good stuff. So this is really interesting. So this trend is really just starting. So congestive heart failure, you get to what the solid. So there's more and more drivers which are going to push adoption of Reliq's remote patient monitoring technology.
Right.
Not just in Texas, but across the U.S.
Exactly. When we started, Medicare introduced the first billing code for remote patient monitoring in January of 2018. So at the time, that was the only billing code we were leveraging. Since then, they've introduced another 17 codes, and we've introduced modules that allow clinicians to bill under those codes. So we have a behavioral health integration module that allows physicians to do care coordination and track medication adherence and things around mental health patients as well as addiction patients. And there's chronic care management, which is kind of non-face-to-face care. There's conventional telemedicine. There's principal care management for specialists. There's transitional care management for post-discharge from skilled nursing. There's quite a broad range. And we know, when we started, the reimbursement available to our clients under Medicare was $59 per patient per month. It's currently $372 US per patient per month. So that reimbursement amount has increased by over 500% in the last 3 years. But also the billing codes have increased. So we started with 1, there's now 18. And for next year, Medicare has already announced that they are going to be increasing the value of the reimbursement amounts for the current billing codes, as well as introducing another 5 billing codes for what they call remote therapeutic monitoring. And that's around asthma and musculoskeletal diseases. And it's allowing patients to self-report certain metrics that are important, but that aren't easily captured through monitoring devices like a spirometer or a blood pressure cuff or glucose meter. So asthmatics, one of the biggest indicators that they are becoming unstable and are going to end up in an acute crisis and hospitalized is if they're waking up at night to take their inhalers. So having patients self-report, my asthma woke me up in the middle of the night, is a really key indicator for physicians that this patient needs either an increase in steroid inhaler dose or some oral steroids or some additional medication management in order to prevent a significant crisis that leads to hospitalization.
Okay, so this is new stuff you haven't talked about before. So there's more and more drivers for which are going to be really pushing Reliq in the coming months. Okay,
the budget for what we do is steadily increasing, and I think the message behind that from Medicare and Medicaid that we're hearing consistently, and that analysts in the space will repeat to you quite strenuously, is that this is working. That this kind of approach, the proactive, preventative approach, enabled by technology, which facilitates access to care for patients in remote and rural communities or who might live in low-income communities where there's very little access to conventional care. This is really helping keep those patients healthy and at home. It improves their quality of life. It improves their patient satisfaction. But from the healthcare system's perspective, most importantly, it prevents those hospitalizations that really drive costs. So you can bring the average cost of care for a chronic disease patient down from hundreds of thousands of dollars a year associated with an ICU stay to less than $10,000, sometimes less than $5,000 a year. So it's a huge cost savings for a healthcare system that spends trillions of dollars a year on healthcare, 80% of which is driven by the chronic disease patient population. So it's a tremendous cost savings.
So the reason why in Medicaid, whatever, they're reimbursing this is not for, this is not like for entertainment purposes for people to watch, videos, and get this is real because it saves them a ton of money. So essentially, this is part of, what you're doing. So there's a couple things happening. So one is, Reliq, obviously, you're growing, but at the same time, the market is really rapidly expanding. This Texas thing, which you never talked about before. This is just a new thing that came on. Now you talk about you got this thing with the what do you call it? The asthma that's going to kick.
Yeah.
So the market is really expanding dramatically for what you're doing. It's just like this thing is just like really starting to snowball. And of course, obviously, what's driving everything is, one, obviously they want to keep people healthy, but at the same time, yeah, they need to really, drive cost, healthcare cost savings. It's a huge, hospitalization becomes more and more expensive, like every month almost, and especially now with the COVID and everything, people don't want people in hospitals. Lisa, we're tight on time. I want to jump into some audience questions. I'm hoping we can answer some questions, and then I want to wrap up with upcoming milestones, because I think you got big things happening in a couple of months. So let's see. Okay, so let's jump into some audience questions. Okay, so what day will financials come out? Quarter or year? Okay.
Yep. So our annual audited financials for the year ending June 30th, 2021 come out at the end of October. I think it's the 28th. I will double check, but I will remind you that those financials are looking at a period that's 4 to 16 months in the past. So they're not going to have any exciting surprises in them. Anything that's in them has already been disclosed. So, we did hit our target revenue run rate that equates to profitability at the end of the year, but the current quarter that just ended September 30th, and that's the quarter that will show, profits. So that'll be the first quarter to show profits. That quarter will be released. The financials will be released at the end of November. I think really the financials that will be of interest to the market will be the ones released at the end of November. And then more importantly, the ones released at the end of February, which will show, at the end of the year, us hitting the revenue run rate of roughly $2 million a month, and also the total revenue collected for the year, or recognized for the year. And, profits, obviously there'll be profits in that quarter as well as this quarter.
Okay, so the numbers we're going to see at the end of this month, at the end of October, is the stuff that ended in June. So that's going to show break even. But the real numbers,
not really. I mean, if you think about it in terms of revenue run rate, I mean, you'll get some insight into it. But this is the quarter where you're really going to see the quarter that just ended. I know we're in October.
The one we're going to see. So the next month. So the numbers are the quarter that ended in September. Yes. Those numbers we're going to see at the end of November. And it's going to be profitable. It's going to be profitable.
Exactly. Showing profitable.
Okay. So that's So we're 45 days away from a major, milestone for the stock, which I think could that's something for people to keep an eye on. Obviously, the stock is not going to be trading where it is now by then. Once those numbers. I'm not saying. I'm not making predictions, but it's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, things will get ahead of where it is.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said, very consistently since the beginning of this year that the vast majority of our growth will come in second half of this year. And so that's what the financials will reflect. So I think the financials from the second half of this year, the ones released in November and then February 2022 are obviously the ones that'll be the most exciting.
No, okay, so
everything after that.
So November is the big one. End of November is the big one to watch for, and then February, which is going to show the December end of the year numbers, which is going to show the 2 million a month, which is the target, 2 million a month run rate. So 25 million potential. Okay, I mean, so basically the numbers that are going to come out in December, in February, essentially would be able to validate a $1 billion plus valuation, which would be 40, 30x forward, run rate. That's what the ones that people are really going to get excited about. But
yeah, I mean, later this month we'll release sort of an informal update on how things ended in the quarter ending September 30th, as we did in July for the quarter ending June 30th. And so we will try to communicate to the market in advance so that you don't have to wait right till those financials to, find out what our revenue run rate was at the end of a given quarter, and that we did actually achieve profits for that quarter, that kind of thing. So we will certainly be reaching out to the market with updates in advance of the financials, as we did in July. But those are when the actual financials will be filed.
Okay. So, we got a couple of great questions. I hope we're going to have time to get to. So Mark is asking, now when the quarters are closed, will you pre-release any onboarding numbers?
We don't really talk about onboarding numbers specifically in the financials in terms of, where we are in terms of onboarding. As we've said before, we expect to end the year at a 2 million per month run rate, which equates to roughly 40,000 patients. We're well on track for that number. So, we closed September around 25,000 patients, maybe a little bit more. So things are going very well on the onboarding front. I will say that I definitely think the onboarding rate or pace will pick up significantly in 2022. Some of our clients, like the skilled nursing facilities, for example, are still dealing pretty significantly with the Delta variant. But that seems to be getting a little bit better, and certainly the forecast is that it will be much better for those clients in 2022. So once we start onboarding some of the larger clients quite aggressively, that rate of onboarding or the number of patients per month will go up significantly. There's a lot of questions. Jack, you tell me which one I'm going to answer next. They're all flashing across my screen. And you're muted.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna pop those on the screen later. We're gonna do one at a time, but we have some good questions here. So I just want to just let people know that we see we're gonna ask the questions.
Got it.
Okay. So there's a question from Sid Harris. I don't understand if you could re-ask the question. I'm not sure I understand it, but. So Lisa, you addressed this one, the fourth way, the Delta. That's okay.
Yeah, the Delta variant. Not that I ever want to say that a global pandemic is a positive for anyone, but it has been a positive for the business. I mean, the reality is that clinicians have kind of recognized that we're going to have to live with coronavirus for a while, and so they have to find a way to provide care to their chronic disease patients and other patients. High risk pregnancies are covered under Medicare, so patients that you don't necessarily want to bring into the office any more often than you absolutely have to, because you don't want to expose them to the Delta variant, can be monitored in the home, and so that's driven a lot of demand for our product. Certainly, given the reimbursement levels that we're currently at, there's a lot of pull in the market. But I think the fact that the Delta variant is sticking around and that physicians are really needing to find a way to provide care virtually to patients to protect them, that's really caused a lot of a sense of urgency amongst clinicians, where we are getting a lot of new clients by referrals every day. And there's a strong sense of urgency with those clients that they want to onboard quickly before we really get into the worst parts of flu plus Delta variant season.
Okay. Question: what percentage of the monthly revenue accrues to the doctor practice? What percentage accrues to Reliq? Most monitoring services initiated by the provider.
Yeah. Yes. So everywhere except in Texas, remote monitoring and virtual care is initiated by the physician, not a home health agency. The exception is in Texas under the Medicaid program, remote patient monitoring has to be administered and initiated through a home health agency. So in Texas, we work with both physicians who are billing under Medicare and home health agencies who are billing under Medicaid. What percentage of revenue? So under the various Stark laws and things like that in the US that are aimed at preventing companies from bribing physicians, you don't take a percentage of revenue. What happens is we set an established subscription fee, which is for us between $40 and $100 per patient per month. The physicians, depending on what programs they're offering, are billing different amounts, but our average clinician is generating roughly $372 US per patient per month. So they're paying us $40 to $100 a month, and they're making $300. The ability to bill for more than that if you're adding in additional services that are covered by various modules that we offer.
Okay, so bottom line is the doctors, these clinics, they have an incentive to use your services because obviously, look, I mean, they're going to make money at the same time. It helps the patient because it keeps them out of the hospital. They're able to catch these things in advance, so which prevents hospitalization. Okay. Okay. What are the questions? Okay. How are things going for Puerto Rico? You just launched in Puerto Rico recently, right?
Yeah.
Or you're starting?
Relatively recently. Puerto Rico is going very well and quite quickly. And I think you'll certainly hear a lot of news out of Puerto Rico in the coming months. It's a very large patient population. They have some really significant access to care issues. So using a platform like ours where we can collect data over the cellular network and where we can deliver the platform multilingually is huge down there. But there's, tremendous appetite amongst the clinicians there. So that's a huge patient population that we're just starting to tap into, but I think things are really accelerating there.
And who reimburses? That's Medicaid? That's the federal government, right?
Medicare, the federal.
Medicare. Okay. I get I'm sorry. I get the
Yeah, it's not critical that you understand, but Medicare.
Somebody's paying. The government is paying for it, basically.
Yeah, a lot of these patients are what we call dual eligible or dual listed, so they have both Medicare and Medicaid coverage. So there may be some kind of interplay when we submit the electronic claims to Medicare and Medicaid. Some may be paid by one and some by the other, but for the most part, from the patient and the clinician's perspective, they don't necessarily have to even be aware of any of those details.
Okay, so things are really picking up. I guess the big takeaway, which we got today, is that the market. I don't think investors really understand how big the market is expanding. I mean, not only is Reliq growing, but really your market just keeps growing and growing. I mean, substantially.
Yeah, I mean, we started out targeting. Yeah, we started out targeting 37 million Medicare and Medicaid patients who have 2 or more chronic conditions. I would say we probably have closer to 60 million eligible patients right now, and that number grows every day. I mean, Medicare and Medicaid keep adding new indications, so even by next year, we'll add at least another 10 million to that total addressable patient population.
So your total addressable market right now, which meaning that the government or whatever that gets reimbursed is going to be 70 million roughly.
Yeah, it should be 70 million by the end of next year. I mean, it's a huge market. It's unfortunate, but a lot of us have either chronic diseases or issues like musculoskeletal issues, or are pregnant and need to be monitored from home, or have mental health issues or addiction issues. I mean, there's quite a broad range of conditions that are covered now. So it has definitely significantly expanded our market. And then as Medicare and Medicaid have continued to expand the size of the reimbursements, it's really completely fundamentally changed our market, so that there's now a tremendous pull that did not exist when we started in 2018. And everything was, we were the missionaries and educating, and it was very much a push situation. Now it's very much a very strong pull.
So this is basically, the analogy would be like, because the market 70 million, so we're talking about over $7 billion a month is the potential.
Being deployed.
Over $100 billion a year is the potential market really now.
Yeah, that's what Medicare and Medicaid are investing, because they believe it's going to ultimately net them savings of tens to hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
Right. I mean, they're not doing this as a charity. I mean, they're doing this to save money. Right. Okay, so this is like basically like, so, and then you're growing on top. So this is like a fast car on top of a bullet train. It's like a Lamborghini on top of a bullet train that's going 300, or maybe on top of a rocket. So it's like a rocket lifting off, and there's a car. I'm using great. Okay, so it's a great. This is really the kind of ideal. It's basically kind of I remember, like, that's kind of the venture capital model. That's the ideal thing that everybody wants, is fast growing market, fast growing company, layer on top of that, and it's like it's a beautiful situation. So okay, bottom line is milestones coming up. What can we see in the next, between now and November? November is the big day. I guess everybody's looking for that, the numbers in November. But what else can we look for between now and then?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly, not that it's this quarter, but, in mid-January, when we're able to provide some updates to the market on the last quarter. And the problem with financials, because they're backwards looking, is it takes a little while for the, exciting data to percolate through. So certainly, mid-January, I think, is when we'll start to have the most exciting announcements, but end of November will be, a good barometer, I guess, as well, showing that we had profits this quarter. Excuse me. But obviously, I think the market should keep watching, for us signing new contracts and signing larger entities as our clients.
Entities. What does that mean? Like, is that a hint of some sort?
No, it's not a hint. We've talked about this before that, we work with physician practices and home health agencies, but we're also targeting managed care organizations, employer-sponsored health plans, networks of skilled nursing facilities that, basically give us a much larger patient population in a single client. So, we find with the larger clients, yes, they like to have staged rollouts, but with some of the really big clients, they'll want to start with large numbers very quickly. So, that's where you really see the snowball starting to accelerate and gain mass very, very quickly. And so those are certainly announcements to watch for. And then obviously, in mid-January, watching for that, we hit the target revenue run rate of $2 million a month by the end of December. And, we've talked about multiples in the space being sort of 5 to 30x, but typically for a fast growing company, or for a profitable company, or for a company with good margins, you're looking at over 30 times. Livongo was acquired by Teladoc for over 40x revenues at the time when they were operating at a loss, so negative EBITDA margins. We'll have EBITDA margins of over 45% by the end of this year, and will be profitable and will be growing very rapidly. So I would certainly expect ultimately, that this company will be recognized for what it's doing by the market, and that we'll get to those very significant multiples over 30x.
Okay, Lisa, thank you. The video I think was very helpful. Great. This news about kind of the what's happening in the market is also, I think, very useful for people to kind of understand. Bottom line is, people are going to be watching the numbers at the end of November, and you're saying the big exciting things are going to be once at the end of January, February, once we see the December numbers out.
I think basically, going forward, every quarter will be significantly better than the quarter preceding it. So, quarterly financials probably are going to be a lot more interesting going forward than they've been in the past. The annual financials will not be particularly riveting, but after that, the quarterly financials, I think, will be well worth watching.
Okay, Lisa, on that note, I want to thank you, and we'll catch up with you with the next big news.
Great. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you again. Okay, great things happening at Reliq. Let's get ready for our next exciting company. Sorry about the little construction noise happening here. Let me get this set up. Okay, stand by. We're going to be bringing on ESE. Okay, Conrad, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
All right. How are you?
Awesome.
You got a good tan. Where are you now? This must be the summer or something going on. End of summer tan here. Okay, so
don't forget, we have an office in Portugal as well. So we're working on some big projects in Portugal. So I'm going to be here for a few days, and then I'm heading back to Warsaw, Poland.
Okay, and Portugal, is that's the esports team is in, right? The Kick?
Correct. That's where the Kick headquarters are. So it gives us access to the whole Iberian Peninsula, Spain, Portugal, and into LATAM with Brazil as well.
Okay. Okay, so let me just get things set up. I'm going to do a quick intro for the video afterwards, and then we'll get started. Okay. So,
perfect.
Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock, a live stream October 5th. We are back with ESE Entertainment, ENTEF, over the counter. And of course, for anybody that's brand new to our program, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. So companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities that are at a key inflection point in their growth. And there's multiple catalysts in place that could ignite massive increases in shareholder value. So we've had, I think we're up to our 9th 10-bagger plus in recent months. ESE is definitely one of 10. We went to 10x, and now there's another 10x coming up. So the stock was, 30 cents when you debuted. It hit over $4. We're back in the $1 range, so people have another bite at the apple. And the incredible thing is now, so this is actually great timing. So Conrad, so right now, we're in October. The stock is at $1.20 Canadian, and you have you're much, much further ahead than where you were last February when the stock was $4, right? I mean, it's amazing. So we're gonna talk about some of the revenue growth here.
Yeah, I think that's a big understatement. I mean, I made it crystal clear the first day that I came on the show that ESE is going to be an acquirer. We're going to go out and acquire creative groups in the space. We're going to add tremendous value. And we've done exactly that, step by step. So we've now closed. It's our fourth. Now it's going to be our fourth.
This is going to be frenzy. This is the deal you announced last week. You know, it's amazing that the market didn't really react to it. We're going to get into all the details of this is the esports media company in Europe. So we're going to get into all that stuff. So the esports space again, it's really heating up. I mean, there's massive trends happening. So let's kind of talk about where you are right now. Last year, you were doing less than 2 million run rate last December when you first came on, right? Before this new deal, which you're going to be closing soon, you were doing what, 25 million revenue run rate in esports.
Yep.
Okay, now let's talk about this new company, which you're going to be buying. What do they do? What kind of revenues are they doing? How do they fit in?
You know, and to Jack's point, I'm a little surprised I didn't get a better reaction from the market. This is a massive opportunity. I made it clear from the beginning that we were going to be pursuing media rights and relationships with publishers and production in the segment. There's groups out there like VEN and VSPN that have both raised over 100 million each, and their production capabilities do not compare to this. We are aligned with one of the largest media conglomerates in all of Europe. We have facilities that are unprecedented that I'm going to show viewers today. We have relationships with tier 1 publishers, global publishers, groups like Riot Games, EA Sports, CD Projekt, Ubisoft. This opportunity is just, I mean, it was something that we just could not pass up. It puts us in a global tier 1 level for production for esports and gaming in a market that's only growing. This group has been growing at a 50% year-over-year growth rate. And, you know, we're going to inject some capital into that. And we're going to really scale this business on a global level.
So this company, Frenzy, what kind of revenues are they doing approximately?
So we anticipate for the next, 12-month run rate around 5 million plus. We're very
what kind of currency?
Dollars,
okay.
But we are very, very confident that when we implement them into our ecosystem, that's going to scale very fast. They also have VR and AR capabilities that we're going to start implementing. They haven't even scratched the surface. That's just the reality. And when we join forces and we start scaling, I mean, I say it every time, and we go after these groups all the time. This is another 100+ million opportunity in itself. And that's why we're so excited about it.
So right now, when this deal closes, your run rate is going to be approximately 30 million plus.
Correct.
$30 million run rate. Okay, so just for some context.
So do you see a common theme happening here? Every time I come back on the show, we're getting closer and closer to the 100 million mark.
Right. So I think one of the things you said when you came on, I think back in January, right? Like after sometime in January, you said, look, we're going to do. You said, look, we're going to close out the year with the goal is to do $100 million run rate, and that's just, again, that's a start. That's just an intermediate milestone. That's just to give people something to look forward to. That's not kind of the end game. The end game is not 100 million. I think. Am I right?
Oh, definitely not. Once you get to 100, then you go for $1 billion.
So 100 million, and again, you went from 2 million run rate to now 30 million run rate, approximately, which obviously when this deal closes, it'll be in that range, and then there's more on tap. So listen, bottom line is, look, you've delivered everything you've said. I think it's important to realize that 30 million, typically in the esports space, companies could be valued at 10x revenues is kind of where that's what the market is paying for high growth tech stocks these days, right? So 300 million. Your market cap right now is something like, I don't know, 75, 80 million approximately right now, today.
Yeah, that's roughly where we've been closing at the last few days.
So there is basically 4x upside from here just to get you to be, kind of, where the market should be. So, I mean, that would get you back to like $4 for starters. And when you get to 100 million run rate, that would be roughly 10x from where you are, 12x from where you are now. That would be a $12 stock price, assuming nothing else changes. A ballpark. I'm not like, we're not doing, I don't have the calculator out, but $12, I think it's $12 roughly.
I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, this is a 10x opportunity from here, right? And that's the goal. We're very excited about the opportunity. We continue to deliver. I keep coming back on the show with real news, real revenues with profitable companies. What else could you want in a group that's growing at that pace with real product, real groups, and most importantly, aligning and partnering with multi-billion-dollar companies, not just one, but several. So this is really important to understand, is we're insulating ourselves around, like I mentioned, 5 to 7 big publishers that are valued at 10 plus billion. That's a great group to be around. And we're going to get to $1 billion market cap a lot faster when we're surrounded by groups like that.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a demo, right? We're going to basically show what these guys are, what this new business is about that you're acquiring. I just want to make one comment here is that, look, when we bring companies onto the next super stock program, or even, look, we sign companies up for 6 months, right? And when we bring companies back, I only want to bring companies back if I really think they're going to have a 10x upside from where they are. Like, if a company already does a 10x and I don't think there's more room to go, I'm not interested in really just doing like, whatever, maintenance work. I'm not, that's boring for me. So the only reason why ESE is on the platform now is I really believe there is a path to get to 10x from today. So from $1 where it is right now, there's a $10 plus $12 upside. So that we're not here to we're not here for, this is not for entertainment purposes. This is to make money. Okay, so Conrad, with that said, are you ready to show the demo?
Yeah, let's see.
This is the new company that you're buying. Ready? Okay, so we're gonna bring this up on the screen. Okay, we have it. Okay, here we go. Okay, you want to press play?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think, is it rolling or?
It's rolling. Yeah, it's rolling.
There you go. So
I don't have sound though. I don't have sound. I think that's on your end. I think
it's just a little. So there you go.
Okay, so what do we see? What is this? What is this business that these guys are doing?
That, if that doesn't get you fired up, nothing else will. So that is global tier 1 production. If you saw the studios, this is at the level of ESPN, Fox, Netflix scale production. These are our capabilities now. So big publishers are coming to us now to put on tournaments, to roll out leagues, to create content. We're now content creators at the highest level globally. And I mean, like I said, the video speaks volumes. This is the real deal, and it's time to scale globally with this product.
And what are they doing? They're producing. Are these shows? So this company Frenzy, right? So
Yeah.
this is based in Europe, and they're producing show. Is this for broadcast, or where is the distribution channel, and what's the and where are they going to expand?
So this is the exciting part, guys. It's a mix of all of that. So we provide broadcasting, we provide the production. So we actually create reality TV shows pertaining to esports and gaming. We create distribution for the big publishers. So we distribute, League of Legends World Championships, Ultra Liga, which is one of the biggest European-based League of Legends tournaments. For context, those channels have about 25 plus million views annually and growing. We also are expanding into new countries and regions. So as Jack mentioned, we're in Europe currently, in several countries, and now we're expanding into more. I can't get into too many details, but we have a lot of big news coming as it pertains to this relationship. We're going to be onboarding new publishers. We're going to be expanding the services they're providing. And we're just, quite frankly, going to be scaling globally. And that's how we're going to generate more revenues. And we're really exciting. It's just exciting times in general because there's so much more we could do. Content creation is endless. And now we have that production capability.
So in other words, you're putting together like all the various different components in the esports space. It's a little bit like, I'm trying to think what would be a good example. Like, okay, so for like Canadian investors, they made remember Well Health or CloudMD during the initial growth phase, right? Which was like, they were assembling these various components in the health tech space, right? They were doing, I don't want to say a roll up, but really like they're trying to build a kind of like a holistic companies in the health tech space. And we saw a massive ramp in the stock price. Obviously, the revenues took off. So this is kind of, I think where you are now is kind of where those guys were maybe 12 months ago, or in that early part of the growth phase, kind of before. I think what happens is the space you're in right now, it's kind of where most investors, they don't quite understand what you're doing. They're not quite, they kind of vaguely understand, but they're not really going to get it until probably, 3, 4, 5 months out after you do a couple more of these acquisitions. And then the picture comes into focus. Then it becomes really clear. So then they're going to see, okay, now I see what this guy's doing. Of course, by then, a lot of other people will know, and the stock is not going to be where it is today. I mean, that's kind of usually the way it works, So
that's exactly right. And I had a very high level meeting today with one of the, in my opinion, industry leaders. And we did sit down and we did a whiteboard session. And he turned around and he said, "You're doing a 360 solution in esports." He understood it right away. And the people that know this space are going, "Wow, you're actually doing it." We are creating an ecosystem, a 360 solution for the entire industry, esports and gaming. And it's a lot bigger than people think. When you look at this deal, you got to think big picture. You got to really realize what I'm saying about the vision with all the pillars lined up. Now we have production, media right capabilities. We're aligning with the big publishers. You have to understand the opportunity here, and not to be cliche, is a once in a lifetime. This is how the big groups
generational. I mean, this is really It's funny. This is the first thing we talked about when you came on. We talked about like this esports really is a generational, change wave. It's a generational opportunity. It's kind of where this is the first thing we talked about. Was kind of like where the NFL, the NBA was, 50 years ago. When all of a sudden the broadcast rights, that became a huge business. When esports today gets more viewers than traditional sports. So like basically the new generation, right? People in their 20s, 30s, or younger now, there's a whole new generation, right? What are they called? The Gen Z, whatever it is, the people who are doing Roblox, whatever, right? So those people, they don't want to watch NFL. They're not into that old people stuff. They're basically into esports tournaments. And you could see there's kids who are making, $10 million, $20 million a year playing esports. I mean, that's basically like a high level athlete. That's like a top level. I mean, how much does LeBron James? Is he the top level guy? Is he the most paid guy?
He's definitely up there. He's definitely up there.
But these are kids who are basically sitting in their pajamas playing esports, right? So this is good. We're just getting started here.
And it's funny you mentioned him because his son just signed a deal with an esports team. I'm not sure which one, but I read about it. LeBron's son, yeah. He's a massive gamer.
This makes the point. This is the son. This is the next generation. The next generation is not doing NBA. The next generation is doing esports. Sorry about the noise. We got some construction. I don't know if
he's excited too.
He's excited too. So we got great. Really, I mean, this is major thing. Now, to add to that point, one of your directors. This is the guy that comes out of that broadcast sports. So he joined you for a reason. For anybody that's new, they may not know. Give us kind of the snapshot of what his background is, what he's doing for you.
Yeah, so Rick Brace came on as one of our directors a few months back, but he was the former president of Rogers. I believe they're a 30 billion plus market cap company on the NASDAQ and TSX. Previous to that, he was also the president of TSN, the equivalent of ESPN in the US. Previous to that, he was with CTV, the equivalent to, I guess, ABC of the US. So do you see the theme here? Now we've partnered with Frenzy, who's affiliated with Polsat Group, the biggest media conglomerate in all of Eastern Europe, one of the biggest in all of Europe. We are going to start working together. We are going to start scaling this at a very high rate. And quite frankly, there's no ceiling to this business. It's growing so fast. And now we have the pieces. This was kind of one of the final pieces to really scale on the media rights side. Now we could really attack some of these bigger publishers and scale with them on a global level.
Okay, so no, this is really interesting. So the concept here is you're building this 360 solution for esports. So that includes what? Infrastructure, content,
media rights, right? Production. We have their own esports team and leagues. So it goes all the way across the board. And we've added the digital motorsport side to the business as well. So it's literally a 360 loop of the entire industry.
Okay, so the question then is, okay, so you got this. Is it people? I think so. Some investors are familiar with was it EGLX? That was like a hot stock last year in the esports space. Similar kind of, they followed a similar kind of growth, similar model, like, growing through acquisitions, mostly content. I think they were mostly a roll-up of content, like YouTube channels, stuff like that. In that stock, that, and that became, I think they hit like $1 billion market cap at some point, right?
Yeah. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they went up to $11 and over $1 billion market cap. And they were trailblazers on the TSX to create that market cap. But it also shows people that it is very realistic to get to that level. And I know that we can get to that level. So it's a great comparable to show us that we could get there.
And again, this is really, we're still kind of in the early days of this massive opportunity. Again, like we talked about before, like esports, like all the guys who own like NFL teams, sports team owners, they're all going into the esports business. They either they're buying teams or they see where the puck is heading. It's really this esports thing is going to be big, and it's interesting. We really don't have too many pure play like esports stocks. It's not that the theme. I mean, the theme kind of is heating up, but it's not like, it's not like where, let's say, cannabis was 5 years ago. It's not a dominant theme yet. It's not like sports betting is like a dominant theme in the market. It's become that way in the last over the last like 2 years or so. Esports is not there yet. I think this is going to be the next thing. The esports thing is going to be the next thing over probably the next 12 months. I think we're going to see it emerging.
And we're the company to follow. We're the 360 solution. You don't need to go anywhere else. ESE is the company that you need to follow. We're delivering, we're executing, and just keep following the news. I mean, we have tremendous stuff in the pipeline. The meetings we're having now, now that we have these resources and these pieces to the puzzle, it just opens up 10 more doors every other day. And it's unbelievable. We're really seeing the business scale. We executed a great quarter last quarter.
It was basically last quarter.
Yeah,
you were up 500 over. It was almost 500% from the previous quarter.
Yes.
So the numbers are starting. I mean, look, the numbers are all. It's all trailing stuff. It's all stuff that back in history. So people are really. They're not. I think the market is only going to catch up to it once they see these numbers of like 30 million, 25 million. Once they see those things start to hit like your quarterlies, that's when I think people are going to wake up and get it. Let me see. Okay, let's get to some audience questions here. Let's jump into some audience questions. Okay, so we got. Okay. Okay, so I think this guy is coming in a little bit late. So you talk. Oh, so Frenzy. This is the new acquisition. What is their run rate?
Yeah, next 12 months, 5 million Canadian, roughly.
Canadian dollars.
Correct.
Okay. Jeremy's asking, I have difficulty understanding why Frenzy doesn't post a lot on Twitch, especially since they have 90,000 followers, which is impressive. Twitch is what? That's kind of the esports platform, right? So why are these guys doing more on Twitch?
Because you're probably better off following the channel on YouTube or Twitch under the name Polsat Games, because Frenzy is more of the corporate entity that runs those channels.
So it was under Polsat. That was the main company.
Polsat Games is the actual channel that you'll see the higher volume streaming, and the shows also get aired on national TV on the TV channel Polsat Games in Poland. So there's a lot of viewership on the actual linear TV channel as well.
Okay. So this is mostly in Eastern Europe, right? But what are you doing to expand? What's the plan for global expansion for Europe, beyond Europe, Asia, Latin America, US, North America, Mars?
We're already in Asia. We already rolled out a talent show. China, Korea, Vietnam, Brazil, Japan. We already rolled that out. We've already expanded to those regions. We're just going to be accelerating. So, we anticipate entering a bare minimum of 10 plus countries in the next 6 months, preferably more, but, one step at a time. New languages, new countries, new regions. We're going full steam ahead with this thing.
Okay, so things are coming into focus. Okay, I guess people. Yeah, I think you haven't really talked about the numbers before for this new acquisition. I think probably that's why the market didn't really react. I think once people understand that, okay, this is roughly brings in another 5 million, adding 5 million to the run rate. We're at 30 million. Are we at 30 or 25? What are we at? 25, 30? Right now with this deal, you're going to be at where?
After Frenzy, we're now getting closer to that 30 plus mark. And one thing that we need to make crystal clear, and I think it's important to explain to shareholders, is we do not need to raise any more money to do this deal. Step number one. Number two, it's a fantastic deal. It's going to be around 1 to 1.5 times revenue multiple. And it's a 50-50 split of shares and cash. So we actually, once again, do not need to raise cash. We have the money to do the deal, and we're on to the next one. So this is a very good deal for shareholders. Very limited dilution, and it puts us in a position to continue to grow with additional revenue. And this is an accretive group. So that's exciting as well.
Okay, so I guess the thing people want to know is, okay, what's next? I mean, they want to know like what's okay, and forget about what you did last week. What's in the pipeline? You're basically are we still on track to hit 100 million run rate end of 21? We're 2 months away.
Hey,
November, 3 months away.
You guys got to give me some love, man. I keep delivering, so we need to get some more buying on market. But no, all jokes aside, guys, we're on pace. We have specific goals. The goal is 100+ million. And at the end of the day, we're delivering. I keep coming on the show. I'm doing my job. My team's doing their job. And we're going to continue to deliver high quality news. And we're going to continue to deliver these accretive acquisitions that are just going to continue to bolt on more and more revenue until we get to that number.
Okay, good question. So you're talking about a big picture for ESE, 100 million as intermediate milestone, 100 million run rate. Chris is asking, are you considering selling ESE to a larger player at some point, or do you want ESE to be the biggest player in the sector moving into the long term? I mean, what do you? I guess what's your vision for ESE? Let's say 2 years out. I know 2 years is 2 years out. I don't want to say 5 years. 2 years.
I really believe that for a pure play esports company, there's only a few guys in the running to be the biggest in the world, and we're definitely in the mix. And that's the goal. I always want to be the best. We want to win. We want to be the biggest. And that's the goal. And we're going to continue to push over the next 2-3 years. I can't predict the future, but look what we've done in the past year. Remember, we went from 0 to 25 million run rate. And I said this on the last show. I'll say it again. It's a lot easier to get from 25 to 100. And then when you're at 100 million revenue, it's a lot easier to get from 100 to 500. So that's the type of mindset I have. That's the type of mindset our team has. We got it to this point. We're going to continue to scale, and we're going to continue to use that same mindset, stay lean, acquire great companies with great operators, and we're going to scale as a group. And if that takes us to the biggest in the world, that's where it takes us.
Okay. So this is the big picture. 100 million revenues is the intermediate goal. We could get there. Where? Possibly end of the year. Possibly maybe by February, March. It might take a little long. It might take a little longer. It's possible. But it doesn't. I mean, I don't think it really matters if it takes 2 months, 3 months longer. So you're already at 30. So you're a third of the way there.
I would just follow the news, and I think people are going to be surprised over the next 12 months what we have in store.
Okay. What else is in the pipeline right now? What other kind of companies are you looking at? You have media stuff. What else is in the hopper?
We're looking at a couple more groups, a little bit more focused on technology at the moment, scalable technology with larger margins. More profitable companies, and significantly more revenue. So that's pretty much the focus at the moment, is more tech oriented, but very synergistic. So we've isolated a few groups that we would just work perfectly together. They would bring a little bit more of a technology base, and then we'd provide more of the infrastructure production side. But together, we could really scale fast.
Okay. What we need to do at some point is we're gonna have to bring on like members of because you have multiple components now. You got the digital motorsports, you got the kick, you got this. We have to bring on various members of those teams on and maybe do so people see exactly what it is you're doing. Like last, what was it, 2 weeks ago, you had, what's his name? The digital
Niall.
sports, Niall on. I think people, when they see demos, they see actual stuff, then they're really going to understand what you're doing. This is kind of what I want to do with all our kind of companies, is so people really need to understand what the business is. This is not just, I mean, there's a lot more than just you showing up. There's a lot of moving parts behind the background, and this is, I think, once they see that, they see all the stuff, then it becomes a a reality for them.
There's now, with the addition of Frenzy, we're getting close to over 200 employees globally. So we're building a big group, a very capable group, a very talented operators. So, it's pretty exciting.
Okay, we got a question here. I'm not sure if I understand. Okay, so what is the expected run rate during the next quarter? I'm not sure if I understand the question, but I guess
he's probably
take a guess. Take a guess. I don't know.
He's probably referring to the next quarter.
Okay.
As you know, I can't speak on that. What I could say, we anticipate having a very strong quarter.
I think he's asking. Oh, maybe I think he's asking what do you expect the run rate to be the next quarter? Not the actuals, but the run. What do you expect? Because right now you're at 30 million roughly, right? So let's say, I guess he wants to know: are you going to get to where are you going to be January? Pretty much.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to wait for the news to come out on that one. But like I said, we're very confident. And I wouldn't wait or bet against us. I mean, this is something you want to be a part of more longer term. We're building something real here. We're building a big company, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But as you can see, I work fast, and I'm doing my best to go as fast as I can.
Okay, so bottom line, the takeaway for today is 360 solution for esports. This is now the picture is coming into focus. 360 solution, $100 million run rate is the intermediate target. That's not the end. That's not the end point. That is the intermediate point, which we should be at. Hopefully January, maybe a little bit later, but it's coming into into focus right now. So you're at 30 million with this new acquisition. So that is, tremendous results. I don't know why the stock is not trading $2 right now. It's amazing. Sometimes these things either they're undervalued or they get out. These things are never correctly priced. So right now it's I think a good time for people to be taking a look at ESE, ENTEF over the counter. Conrad, I think that kind of wraps up. Any other kind of any other milestones coming up in the next 30 days you want to talk about? Anything else coming up?
We got some really exciting stuff coming in the next 30 to 60 days. Just continue to follow the story. I mean, we're working our tails off. As you can see, we have consistent news, high quality news all the time. But you'll see some really exciting news in collaboration with Frenzy as well, because we're going to be doing some big things with publishers and rolling out tournaments. So it's going to be just an exciting time to follow us because the news flow is going to really ramp up. Digital Motorsports is doing some really cool stuff. It's just going to be a constant news flow. So definitely keep an eye on it, and you'll be a happy investor because there's always something going on.
Conrad, listen, on that note, I want to thank you, and we look forward to hearing more exciting news from ESE very, very soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining our live stream today.
Thanks, guys.